What is retro? Greetings. What is retro? Just a question that cropped up in my mind yesterday, and it just got me thinking what each of us class as retro. I'm sure we've probably all got different opinions, and I'd imagine a lot of it might be determined by how old you are. Obviously, something I class as retro, a youngster isn't, necessarily going to have the same opinion, are they? And what they think is retro, I might think is brand new. So it just got me thinking, really, and so I thought I'd do a quick little video. And there didn't seem to be many videos going about lately, so I thought I'd, throw this up, open question, get yourself involved, open VR, do your own video, what your opinions, be good to see one from anybody. And let me know in the comments, what is retro? So, like I say, I think everybody's going to have a different opinion. And there's no right answers, We're all entitled to our opinion. And it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It's all a hobby to enjoy and be involved with whatever way you want. But you get this kind of debate a lot, don't you, about what's retro and, that's modern. It don't matter, does it, at the end of the day? If you're enjoying the games, it don't matter what the hell it is, does it? But, would you class retro as something you perhaps had when you were a child, maybe at school? And, that's the kind of era you think is retro nowadays, maybe? Thinking back to those, innocent times where you got nothing to do but play your games. I'm sure we all have good memories of that kind of period in our lives. So does that does that make you decide that that's the period that I find is retro, harking back to when you were a kid? Or, is it anything that you've perhaps had in the past and sold on for whatever reason, and then you want to get it back at this later date, and whatever it happens to be, because you've had it, just because you've had it in the past, do you then class that as retro? Or, you could look at it another way. Do you want, as a retro game, got to be of a nature that, a style of game that was more apparent in perhaps the 80s and 90s, before things went 3D? Has it got to be a 2D game to be retro? I don't know. All of these, you could argue, are reasons for calling something retro or not. Then, is it console dependent? You might feel a certain console is retro, and you might feel another console isn't retro. And again, I'm sure we're all going to have different opinions on that, because again, it's probably all based on your age and when you had them in your life. There could be a console from way back that you never had that everybody would call retro, but then because it's new to you, if you suddenly get one in, nowadays, you might not feel it's retro because it's brand new to you, if you get my drift. So there's loads of different sort of connotations. And then you could then argue, well, anything but the current generation is retro. Really. If it's not current, so if it's not PS5, Xbox Series or Switch 2, well then it's retro, isn't it? Because it's not a current platform. There's something more modern out. So you could then argue that anything beyond those three is retro. I personally don't, but I could understand people who perhaps might think that. So I just thought it was an interesting little subject, and it'd be kind of good to hear other people's views and what they regard as retro. It doesn't matter, like I say, at the end of the day, it's just a bit of interest. And then you could sort of argue, like, brand new games that are retro inspired. Now, that's kind of a subject that gets people agitated, or some people agitated, you know, because I've more often than not championed retro games over modern, and I have bashed modern games quite a lot in previous videos. But you know, it's all kind of in jest up to a point. There are many modern games I couldn't care less about and I've got no interest in playing, but all of these so-called retro inspired games on modern platforms, I think there's a lot of them which are really, really good. I know they're not for everybody. Some people will think it's just plain at being retro, but I think there are some quality games currently made for existing platforms and previous generations which hark back to retro days. And although they're on sort of more modern platforms, that to me they feel like a retro game. And because you've got the added benefit of modern technology, you've got the increased graphics that weren't around back in the 80s. So I think there's a lot of value and fun to be had with plenty of modern games. Personally, I don't play many of the sort of brand new AAA releases and 3D games. That, not for me. But like I say, there's loads of these 2D retro inspired games on modern platforms which I think are great. So that's kind of a sort of a separate subject, if you like, within what is retro. Because they're not retro, obviously, because they're brand new games out on brand new consoles, but they've got that retro feel and quality to me. So that is an area of modern gaming that I really enjoy and have been doing so since I've got the Switch 2 and PS5. But I mean, it's obviously the original Switch is amazing for that kind of stuff, as is the PS4. We're getting off topic here. What is retro was the original question. And having said all what I've said, for me, what I class as retro is pretty much anything prior to HD. So for me, sort of PS3, 360 onwards is modern, regardless of whether it's, you know, a current sort of style game or a retro inspired game. Those are modern consoles, in my opinion. Any HD console. Anything prior to that, like PS2, original Xbox and older, Dreamcast, you know, anything older than that is retro. That's my sort of cut-off line, if you like. When it went HD is modern, prior to that is retro. And that's how I kind of think of it in my mind. But it doesn't make me only buy games for X or Y. I'll buy games for anything that just appeal to my taste. And retro or not, you know, it's all one big happy hobby we're involved in, and whatever way you want to enjoy it is absolutely fine, and you do you and enjoy it. That's all that it matters about. But anyway, let me know what you think. Just a quick video. What do you class as retro? Get yourself involved. Do a VR. It'd be amazing to hear from you. If you do a little video of your own, just tag me in if you want me to watch it, and I'll gladly watch anybody who wants to put up a video response about this. Or failing that, leave us a comment. What do you class as retro? Be great to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.